Hello viewers, the purpose of this video will be to analyze rhetoric in Elie Wiesel's The Perils of Indifference speech, giving the reader a base understanding into how rhetoric works and how to implement it. This video is for all who wish to learn about rhetoric and put it into use. Rhetoric has many uses in the academic and professional world and is something that is important to learn. With it, one can make stronger arguments in debates, can come across as more knowledgeable in speech, and can sometimes allow one to better organize thoughts. Rhetoric in the academic sense can be used for more than essay writing. It can cross into other modalities. To begin, I'll give you a base understanding of logos, pathos, and egos. After, I'll delve into how those tie into Elie Wiesel's The Perils of Indifference speech. I will be using definitions of logos, pathos, and ethos from the book The Elements of Rhetoric by Ryan N.S. Toppings. Quote, logos means, quite simply, articulate speech. Clarity is the duty of an author because without it, the listener cannot even offer you the most elementary of courtesies, the honor of disagreement. End quote, page 3. Logos also includes elements such as crafting, reason, subject, conclusion, and judgment. One needs to be factual and not have any fallacies or contradicting statements in their presentation. Ethos, quote, has well been said, is the character embodied in speech. It is the extension of one's personality through space and time. End quote, page 29. It is the creation of credibility and using that validity to hold yourself in a light that amplifies your speech. How you hold yourself and speak can add attraction from the audience and act as a hook to keep them drawn. Quote, pathos refers to the emotional quality of your presentation. You must grasp what emotions naturally correspond to your message. Then you must communicate these convincingly to your audience. End quote, page 19. Now having a base understanding of the three basic elements of rhetoric, we will delve into our analysis of The Perils of Indifference by Elie Wiesel. It is a strange and unnatural state in which the lines blur between light and darkness, dusk and dawn, crime and punishment, cruelty and compassion, and good and evil. Rhetoric is the art of using grammar, logic, and other strategies to persuade one of an idea or a topic. In his famous Perils of Indifference speech, Elie Wiesel argues that while indifference has its potential benefits, it is something that should not be largely used in the world. To do this, he uses some great rhetorical tactics to further his argument. Not only does Elie Wiesel wish to educate others on the perils of indifference, but he also wants to plant the question, what will we do in this generation that the next will benefit from and will be grateful for? It is a harsh reality to say that Wiesel is one of many who suffered at the hand of the Germans through the Holocaust. But through the suffering he endured, many stories have arisen. Through these stories, Wiesel has been able to channel that suffering into inspiration for others, a way to strive for greater times for all. Some instances of this shine through in his speech. Liberated a day earlier by American soldiers, he remembers their rage at what they saw. And even if he lives to be a very old man, he will always remember to be grateful to them for that rage and for their compassion. Though he did not understand their language, their eyes told him what he needed to know, that they too would remember and bear witness. Wiesel, 1999. This passage refers to himself, a boy who was liberated from a concentration camp. This was the beginning of his journey to strive for a better world for all. One other thing to note of this passage is that he shared a sympathetic rage with the Americans who liberated him, a rage that was felt by much of the world towards the peoples involved committing the horrors. Yet he was still able to overcome the rage and strive for better. This can inspire others to try to prevent actions like this from fully developing into the horrors that occurred then. Should this not be preventable, it still inspires others to try to take action to make the world a better place for the future generations. Wiesel's stories are filled with the emotions of those who were present at the time of the Holocaust. Similar to his stories, he is able to use the emotions to gain the empathy of his audiences. In doing so, he is able to further his argument against indifference. He wants to show others that the indifference can be tempting, more than that, seductive. It is so much easier to look away from victims. It is so much easier to avoid such rude interruptions to our work, our dreams, our hopes. It is, after all, awkward, troublesome to be involved with another person's pain and despair. Yet, for the person who is indifferent, his or her neighbor are of no consequence, and therefore their lives are meaningless. Wiesel, 1999. He strives to drive people to an emotional state, so they are unable to look away from the victims, so that people have no choice not to make an action. People can say this is manipulation. In its purest form, it is. But it comes from a place in Wiesel that is wholly good, a place that wants to see happiness and joy that can emerge if people don't look away. This action is the rhetorical strategy of pathos, the use of emotions to bring out the emotions of the audience, and without its place in Wiesel's speech, it would be less able to persuade others to fight for a change. While pathos conveys emotions to the audience, it is wholly important to analyze ethos, the validity of the emotions of Wiesel himself. To state some of the more obvious emotions, Wiesel felt pain, sadness, and rage towards his captors. While it is impossible to convey all the emotions that Wiesel felt during this time, it is possible to analyze what could have happened should the Americans have not intervened. When one suffers so much pain in their life, they can become numb to their surroundings. They no longer felt pain, hunger, thirst. They feared nothing. They felt nothing. They were dead and did not know it. Wiesel, 1999. In this passage, Wiesel is stating that some of the people who were captives underwent so much torment that they became numb. They were dead. Death is not necessarily an event that occurs when your body dies, but can occur when your soul is beaten down to the point of it being incapable of anything. Wiesel shows this concept because it allows his audiences to understand that while many were physically dying at the time, the ones who survived might not have had the capability to do anything other than exist. A sad reality. Elie Wiesel uses many rhetorical strategies to convince the people of the world against indifference. Using both the stories he has lived, ethos and pathos, he is able to convey a strong message using indifference as a large concept in the world. As it is, a strange and unnatural state in which the lines blur between light and darkness, dusk and dawn, crime and punishment, cruelty and compassion, and good and evil. Wiesel, 1999.